The Great Hall of the Galactic High Council was full of laughter. Powerful alien leaders from different corners of the galaxy sat around a shining silver table. They were not laughing at a joke or a funny story. They were laughing at a girl. Her name was Nara. She stood in the middle of the hall, her hands bound, her clothes torn, and her face full of quiet anger. She was young, but her eyes had seen war, pain, and betrayal. Nara was a rebel from a small planet that had tried to fight against the Council. She failed, and now she stood as a prisoner. "What should we do with her?" asked Lord Sevar, a tall, thin alien with glowing eyes. "Execution? Prison? Or maybe something more fun?" The others laughed again. "Send her to the humans," said another voice. It was Lady Kreen, the cruelest of them all. "Let her be their problem. They are a primitive species. They will either kill her or study her like an animal." "Yes," Lord Sevar clapped. "Give her as a gift, a joke. Let's see what the humans do with her." Nara said nothing, she just stared. She knew the Council enjoyed their games. They didn't want justice. They wanted entertainment. They put her in a small escape pod. They didn't even give her food or proper clothes. They programmed the pod to crash somewhere on Earth far from any big cities. "Good luck, little rebel," said Lady Kreen with a smile. "You are now a gift." The pod launched into space, spinning toward the blue and green planet called Earth. The sky above the forest was quiet, until a loud sound broke the silence. A bright light cut through the clouds, and then, boom! The escape pod hit the ground, breaking trees and sending smoke into the air. Jake was nearby. He was fixing a water pump near his cabin when he saw the light fall from the sky. "What the hell was that?" he said, grabbing his old backpack and flashlight. He followed the smoke and reached the crash site in minutes. The pod was half buried, in the ground, still steaming. Carefully, he climbed closer. The door of the pod was open. Inside, he saw her. Nara lay unconscious, her body bruised and weak. Jake didn't know who she was or where she came from. But he saw she was hurt. "Hey, are you alive?" he asked, stepping closer. She didn't answer. He looked around. No help was coming. No other humans knew about this crash. "You're not from here," he whispered. "But you need help." Carefully, he picked her up and carried her to his cabin. When Nara woke up, it was night. She was lying on a bed. A warm blanket covered her. Soft light filled the small room. She sat up quickly, her heart racing. Her hands moved to her side, no chains, no weapons either. The door opened. Jake walked in, holding a bowl of soup. "You're awake," he said gently. "That's good." Nara narrowed her eyes. "What do you want from me?" Jake looked confused. "Nothing. You crashed, I found you, you were hurt." She didn't trust him. Why would she? Every creature she had met before had used her, hurt her, or tried to kill her. "Why didn't you kill me?" she asked. Jake sat down across the room. "Because you looked like you needed help." She didn't believe him, but her body was weak and the soup smelled good. Her pride fought her hunger, but in the end she took the bowl. They sat in silence. Jake didn't ask questions. He didn't try to touch her or take her weapons. He just watched and waited. Nara couldn't understand it. This was the species the Council laughed at, the ones they called simple and backward. But this man, he was not like the others she had met. "You're human," she said finally. "Yeah." Jake smiled. "Name's Jake, and you?" She paused, then said, "Nara." A strange silence followed. Not dangerous. Just new. Outside, the stars moved silently across the sky. Somewhere far above, the Council believed their joke was working. They thought Nara was finished. They didn't know that something had already started, something bigger than their power, something they would never understand, because on Earth, Nara had found something the Council never expected. Kindness. The human problem. Sun was rising slowly over the forest. Warm golden light touched the trees, but inside Jake's cabin a storm of questions had already begun. Nara hadn't slept. She sat by the window staring out at the trees, her mind racing. Her hands were tight around a hot cup of tea. Jake had given it to her just like he had given her food, clothes, and safety. And still, she didn't understand him. In her world, kindness always came with a price, but Jake hadn't asked for anything. Not yet. And that made her suspicious. He was outside now, fixing some old solar panels. She watched him carefully. Every move he made was calm, simple. Too simple. Nara was not used to silence. Her people had lived with alarms, orders, running, hiding. Here, the birds sang. Here, Jake whistled while working. This world didn't make sense. Suddenly, the silence broke. A low beep. Nara froze. The sound was soft, but sharp, coming from the corner of the room. She stood up, walked slowly, carefully, like a hunter. Under a pile of books, she found it. A small black device, half-buried, blinking red. A tracker. Her eyes widened. Her heart began to race. She picked it up, crushed it with her foot, and ran outside. "What is this?" she shouted, holding the broken pieces in her hand. Jake turned around, wiping sweat from his face. He looked at the device, then at her. "I don't know what that is," he said, stepping closer. "Don't lie to me," she shouted again. "Is this your trap? Did you tell them where I am?" Jake raised his hands slowly. "Hey, calm down. I swear I didn't put that there." "I've never seen it before." Nara's heart pounded. "Someone is tracking me. They know I'm here." Jake paused. "Who's they?" Nara looked at him. "The people who sent me here. The ones who want me dead." For a moment, the wind was the only sound between them. Jake looked into her eyes and he saw it. Real fear. She wasn't acting. This wasn't some trick. "Come inside," he said. "We'll talk." Nara didn't trust him, but she followed. Because if someone had found her, she would need help. Even from a human. Back in the cabin, she finally spoke. "They call themselves the Council. They control most of the galaxy. Planets, systems, species. They rule with fear. My people tried to resist, so they burned us." Jake sat quietly, letting her speak. "I was a rebel. We believed in something better. But we lost. They didn't kill me. They wanted to humiliate me. So, they sent me here. To you. As a joke." She looked away. "They thought the humans would tear me apart, like animals." Jake's face hardened. "Well, they were wrong," he said quietly. Nara looked at him. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, he meant it. "But now they know I'm alive," she continued. "And they will send someone, not to take me back, to erase me. Then we have to hide," Jake said. Nara shook her head. "They'll find me. They always do." Jake stood up and walked to a metal panel in the wall. He pulled it open. Behind it was a staircase leading underground. "Maybe," he said. "But not today." The bunker under Jake's house was old, dusty but strong, filled with tools, screens, and weapons. Nara blinked in surprise. "What is this?" "My father built it," Jake replied. "He was part of something called Project Sentry, a human program made in secret, in case aliens ever came." Nara walked around slowly, touching the equipment. "Humans knew?" she asked. "A few did," Jake said. "They were ready, not to attack, but to survive." On one wall, a map showed alien signals in Earth's orbit. A few were marked red. Nara stared. "Those are Council drones." Jake nodded. "They've been watching us for years." She turned to him. "Why haven't you done anything?" "Because we were waiting," he said. "Waiting for the right reason." He looked at her. "And now we have one." Outside the cabin, high above the clouds, something moved. A small, invisible drone floated, scanning everything below. Inside, its black shell, A red light blinked once, then twice. Target confirmed. Signal sent. Deep in space. On a black ship shaped like a knife, a voice spoke. She is alive. A pair of cold, silver eyes opened. The bounty hunter smiled. Then I will end the joke myself. Secrets of Earth. The night was silent again. Too silent. Jake sat at his old wooden desk scrolling through screens filled with data. Beside him, Nara stood still, her arms crossed, watching the numbers and symbols fly past. They're here, she whispered. I can feel it. How? Jake asked, not looking up. Because I've been hunted before, she said. And when they're close, everything feels heavy. He didn't question it. Whatever gift she had, it was real. But time was running out. They had just found a tracker in her escape pod's wreckage. And now something, was coming. The Council never sent scouts. They sent killers. But Earth was not defenseless. Not completely. What is this place really? Nara asked. She was walking deeper into the underground bunker, past doors Jake had never opened. Jake hesitated, then said, You want the truth? Always, she replied. He led her to a hidden steel door at the very back of the bunker. It had no handle, only a panel that scanned his hand. A click, a hiss. The door opened. What was behind it made Nara freeze. A long hallway lined with strange lights. Alien writing covered the walls. Not human, not council. Something older. What is this? She whispered. This, Jake said slowly, is Project Seed. They stepped into a large chamber. In the center, a giant metal sphere floated above the ground, slowly turning. Inside it, glowing energy swirled like a living storm. My grandfather discovered it in 1963, Jake explained. Deep underground, in a cave in Alaska. It was buried for thousands of years. But it's not human, Nara said. No. But it's not council tech either, Jake added. It's something older, something smarter. Nara stepped closer to the sphere. Strange symbols on its surface began to glow. It's responding to you, Jake said, eyes wide. She didn't touch it. But the sphere reacted to her presence. A line of energy stretched out, soft and blue, almost like a breath. This is not just a weapon, she said. This is a message. From who? I don't know, she whispered. But it was meant for someone like me, a hybrid. Someone not fully one thing, or the other. The room grew colder. Suddenly, the sphere released a pulse. The lights in the chamber flickered. Alarms blinked red. Something just woke up, Jake said, checking the monitor. What? She asked. A ship, coming through orbit. No call sign, no beacon. It's cloaked. Then it's not friendly. Up above, hidden by clouds, a black ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Sleek, silent, and shaped like a predator, it glided through the night sky like death itself. Inside, the bounty hunter prepared his weapons. His name was Drail, half machine, half flesh, built by the Council to hunt beings that couldn't be killed easily. He had failed once. He would not fail again. Back in the chamber, the sphere suddenly cracked open, not violently, but like it was blooming. Inside, a small cube floated toward Nara. She caught it. The moment she touched it, her body flashed with light. Visions hit her mind. Cities made of crystal. Giant towers floating in space. Beings made of light and code speaking in strange songs. And then, fire. A war. A choice. A child with her eyes, standing between two armies. She dropped the cube. Jake caught her as she collapsed. What did you see? He asked. This is not about me anymore, she said. This is about what's inside me, and what's coming. They had no time to rest. Outside the cabin, something landed. Not with a crash, but with deadly silence. Jake pulled out a small rifle. Stay behind me, Nara looked at him. You'll die. Maybe, he said, but I won't run. Before she could stop him, the door exploded. Drail walked in through the smoke, tall, armored, his eyes burning like red fire. "Subject identified," he said. "Terminate." He moved fast. But Nara was faster. She leapt in front of Jake, her hands glowing with blue fire. "You want me?" she said. "Come and see what I've become." The battle was brutal. The bunker shook, walls cracked. Jake fired, but his bullets barely slowed Drail. It was Nara's power, awakened by the ancient sphere that held him back. They fought from the basement to the forest, a blur of fire and steel under the full moon. And then, in the final moment, Nara slammed her glowing hands into the earth. Shockwave burst out, trees bent. Drail flew back and hit a rock with a heavy crash. He didn't move, but Nara didn't smile. She fell to her knees, her body shaking, her veins glowing. Jake ran to her side. "You did it," he said, holding her. But her eyes were wide. "No," she whispered. "I didn't." He looked confused. She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. "Something's wrong," she said. His eyes widened, not in fear, but in shock, because under his hand, he felt it, a second heartbeat. The Council's mistake light years away, in the cold center of the galaxy, the Council met again. But this time, there was no laughter, no wine, no celebration, just silence. The bounty hunter Drail had not returned. His signal had vanished near the human world. "He's dead," said Lady Crean, her voice tight. "How?" No one answered. A quiet screen lit, up in front of them. It played broken footage from Drail's ship before the signal was lost. A glowing girl, energy around her hands. Standing in front of a collapsing forest. Beside her, a human male. Then static. Then nothing. Lord Zivar stood slowly. "She was supposed to die. We sent her to rot. This is not possible." "No," said a voice from the shadows. It was Lord Mern, the oldest among them. "You didn't send her to die. You sent her to Earth." He looked around the table. "You made a mistake." Back on Earth, Jake held Nara close as her body shook. The second heartbeat inside. Her was still there. Faint but real. "How is this possible?" Jake whispered. "I don't know," Nara said. "My kind. We don't bond this fast. This shouldn't happen. Not like this." She looked at him, eyes full of fear. "I think the ancient machine, the sphere, it changed me." Or, Jake said, it awakened something already there. Nara stood up slowly. Her energy had calmed, but her thoughts were a storm. "This child," she whispered. "It's not just a baby. It's something more. It's part of you, part of me, and maybe part of them." "Them?" Jake asked. "The ones who came before, the Council." For the next 3 days, they hid deep in the mountains. Jake used old codes to shut down satellites and block signals. Nara used her power to seal the ground around them with crystal and stone. But they both knew they couldn't run forever. One night, as Jake repaired a broken solar battery, he noticed something strange, a light in the distance. A second later, he heard it. Not a drone, not a ship, a knock. He grabbed his rifle, walked slowly toward the bunker. "Tor, stop," Nara said. "Let me." She placed her hand on the door. The metal melted away like paper. Outside stood a woman. Human, or something very close. Her eyes were gold, her skin pale, like moonlight. "My name is Sina," she said softly. "I come from the Hidden Ones. We've been watching." "Watching? Who?" Jake asked. "Both of you." Inside the bunker, Sina explained everything. Before the Council, there was a civilization called the Orion. They were not gods. They were not conquerors. They were gardeners of life. They planted seeds across the galaxy, genetic seeds, waiting for the right soil, the right storm, to grow. She looked at Nara. "You are one of those seeds, but you were never meant to be alone. Your path was always tied to this planet." Nara said nothing. She was still processing what she had become. Sina continued. The child inside you is not just a life. It is a signal, a sign to the galaxy that the balance has shifted. The Council senses it. They will come now. All of them. Not just to kill you, but to erase Earth. Let them come, Jake said quietly. No, Sina replied. You must go to them first. The next morning, Nara stood on a cliff overlooking the forest. The wind touched her skin like a whisper from the stars. Jake stood beside her. You're sure about this? He asked. Yes, she said. They want to erase me, so I'll show them what I've become. They activated the old launch chamber beneath the bunker. A ship half human, half alien, built from broken Council tech and Earth metal, rose from the ground. This isn't just about survival anymore, Nara said. This is about a message. What message? Jake asked. That humanity, she said, looking at him, is not something to laugh at. They launched into the sky. Meanwhile, in the Council's citadel, fear had turned into action. Ships were being prepared, weapons charged, but cracks had begun to form among the Council. Some believed Nara must be destroyed. Others whispered, what, if she is the key? And one, Lord Mern, sat quietly, watching an old forbidden symbol on his tablet. It was the same as the one on the glowing cube Nara had touched. The Orion have returned, he whispered to himself. Through her, Nara's ship reached orbit. From above, Earth looked peaceful, too peaceful. Jake, she said, her voice quiet. Promise me something. Anything. If I fall, protect the child. He looked at her. No, he said. We don't fall. We rise. And behind them, Earth's secret defenses began to power up. Satellites moved, codes unlocked. Old machines, sleeping for decades, came alive, and one deep voice spoke in a language older than stars. Signal confirmed. Earth has chosen. War comes to Earth. The stars above Earth were no longer silent. Across the sky, strange shadows moved. Dark shapes, barely visible, hidden behind cloaks of energy. They came without warning. No message, no peace offer, no fear. The Council was coming. And this time they weren't sending jokes or hunters. They were sending war. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, inside Command Station Sentinel, a place forgotten by most of humanity, red lights flashed. Heavy doors slammed shut. Metal walls trembled as ancient machines powered up for the first time in decades. General Cole stood in the center of the control room, eyes fixed on the screen. He was old, sharp, and cold as ice. We waited long enough, he said. The universe thought Earth was sleeping. He turned to his officers. Wake it up. In the sky, the first Council warship uncloaked. Its body was long and black, shaped like a blade. It floated above the Atlantic Ocean like a shadow from some dark legend. People across Europe and America looked up and froze. It wasn't fear that held them. It was silence. The kind of silence that comes right before history changes. In orbit, Jake and Nara watched the enemy arrive from inside their ship. That's just one, Jake said, jaw tight. There will be more. There already are, Nara replied. Her voice was steady, but her hand rested on her stomach. I can feel them. A pulse of light spread through her veins. The child inside her responded. It wasn't fear. It was awareness.connection, like something ancient waking up. They don't know, she whispered. They still don't understand. Then let's teach them, Jake said. Back in space, 5 more ships uncloaked, a Council fleet. They didn't speak. They didn't ask for surrender. They simply fired. A line of blue fire streaked through the atmosphere, aiming for major cities. But the moment the blasts hit Earth's upper sky, something strange happened. A second layer of sky shimmered, and then broke open. Earth's hidden defense grid revealed itself. Satellites moved into formation. Energy domes spread over cities. Old systems built in secret during Cold Wars came alive. And from a mountain near Antarctica, a massive cannon turned toward space. a cannon that hadn't fired since the day it was built. The world had been waiting. And now? It answered. The first blast from Earth's cannon hit the lead council ship. It didn't explode. It shattered. 1,000,000 pieces of metal and flame scattered across the stars. The council commanders inside the other ships froze. This wasn't the Earth they remembered. This wasn't weakness. This was something else. Inside her ship, Nara stepped into the core chamber. She touched the cube given to her by the sphere in Part 3. It glowed again, brighter this time. It projected a map, not just of space, but of the bloodlines across the galaxy. And she saw it clearly now. Her child was not just a mix of two species. It was a living key, a living connection between all the ancient seeds the Orion had planted across the stars, and Earth. Was the final piece. We were never a mistake, she said quietly. Jake nodded. We were the answer. On the council's main ship, Lady Crean stared at the battlefield with disbelief. They should be burning, she hissed. They are humans, savages. Nothing more. But Lord Mern said nothing. He simply watched the energy signatures from Nara's ship. He recognized the symbols. They carry the Orion spark, he said. You fools didn't destroy her. You ignited her. The others turned to him. What are you saying? I'm saying, he whispered, this is not our war anymore. This is evolution. On Earth, chaos spread, but not in fear, in motion. Humans ran to shelters, but others ran toward battle. Pilots launched fighters from hidden bases. Naval fleets turned toward the sea, preparing for any crash-landed invaders. Scientists activated. Machines they barely understood. Devices powered by fragments of the same ancient tech Nara had awakened. And all across the planet, people asked one question. Who is she? Nara's ship entered the battlefield. Energy formed around her like armor, like wings of light. She opened a channel to all ships, human and council. Her voice was calm. You threw me away, she said. You gave me to a human as a joke. Pause. I came back carrying something more powerful than your fleets. Behind her, Earth's defenses formed a glowing wall. Beside her, Jake stood, human, fragile, but unbroken. I carry the future, Nara said, and we're done hiding. The second wave began. Council ships attacked, but this time they met resistance. From Earth, from Nara, from something greater than either side had expected. And as battle raged across space and sea, something ancient watched from the shadows of time, the Orion, and they whispered to themselves, the seed has taken root. The truth inside. Hair above the Earth, the sky was burning. Council ships circled the planet like vultures. Human defense grids fired non-stop. Alien wreckage fell from orbit, crashing into oceans, deserts, and frozen wastelands. But in the heart of it all, floating between Earth and the stars, was Nara's ship. Inside, the silence was heavier than war. Nara stood alone in the core chamber, bathed in soft blue light. Her eyes were closed. Her hands rested on her stomach. She was breathing slowly, deeply, like someone about to open a door they were afraid to walk through. Jake waited, outside, pacing the deck. Every few seconds he looked at the sealed chamber. What's happening to her? He whispered. The ship didn't answer, but the lights on the walls had changed. They were no longer blinking like a machine. They were pulsing, like a heartbeat. Inside the core, the glowing cube floated in front of Nara. She finally spoke. You knew. This would happen, she said. The cube glowed brighter. A soft hum filled the chamber. And then it spoke. Not in words. In memories. Nara saw herself as a child, running across fields of red grass on her home planet. She saw her parents, strong and proud rebels, teaching her to fight, to hide, to lead. But then the vision twisted. She saw her mother screaming, her father bleeding, council soldiers dragging her through fire, and then something new. A memory she didn't know she had. A hidden lab, alien scientists, and her. Not as a child, as a fetus. floating in a tank of blue liquid. Half of her DNA was from her parents. The other half was not from her world, not from any known world. Outside the chamber, Jake heard her scream. He rushed forward, but the doors didn't open. "Nara!" he shouted. Inside, she was on her knees, clutching her head. The cube hovered silently, and then a voice entered her mind. Ancient, calm, and deep. "You were made, Nara. Not as a weapon, as a bridge." Her hands shook. "Bridge between what?" she whispered. The voice answered. "Between the forgotten past and the broken future." Images flooded her mind. A lost civilization called the Oriune, creators of life across the galaxy. They planted DNA codes on many worlds. But their final plan failed. War came. They vanished. But before they died, they left behind a seed code, designed to mix with the right bloodline on the right planet at the right time. That planet was Earth. That time was now. And the carrier was her. Nara opened her eyes. Blue energy moved under her skin like fire under ice. She stood up stronger than before, but quieter, calmer, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. The chamber doors opened. Jake looked at her in shock. "What happened?" "The truth," she said. He waited. "I'm not just a rebel, I'm not just an alien." She placed his hand back on her stomach. "Our child is not a mistake. It's the answer to a question the universe has been asking for a long time." Jake stared at her. "Which question?" She met his eyes. "What comes after the council falls?" Meanwhile, on the council's flagship, panic had begun. The attack on Earth had failed. One ship destroyed, another missing. And now, every scan of Nara's ship returned strange results. Data the computers couldn't read. It wasn't just energy. It was living code. Inside the control room, Lord Zivar smashed his fist on the table. "How is she still alive?" Lady Crean was pale. "Because we didn't kill her when we had the chance." Lord Myrn, always silent, finally stood. He turned to the others. "We were not meant to rule forever." The others stared at him in horror. "You're one of them," Sevar hissed. "I was made by them," Myrn said calmly. "Just like her. But unlike you, I remember the beginning." He pointed at the stars. "She is the end of you." Nara and Jake stood on the deck looking at the stars. From space, Earth glowed, not with fear but with readiness. Ships were rising now from hidden bases around the planet, old war machines flying again. Human pilots with eyes full of fire, but this war would not be won with guns alone. Nara raised her hand, and the cube rose again. A pulse of light exploded from their ship. A signal, not just to Earth, but to the entire galaxy. A signal that said, "We are awake." Across distant planets, other seeds awakened. Beings like Nara, forgotten rebels, hidden wanderers, children of the old code, looked up at the sky. They felt the call, and they began to move. Back on the council's ship, alarms screamed. New signals were appearing. Dozens, hundreds. Life forms they thought they had destroyed. Species they ruled with fear, all of them now heading toward one planet, Earth. Lady Crean turned to Lord Zivar. "We started a fire," she said. He nodded, defeated. "And now it's burning the stars." Humanity rises in the deep quiet before battle. The stars above Earth were not peaceful. They were watching. Ships, stations, and strange lights blinked in every corner of the sky, like the galaxy itself had paused to see what would happen next. On Earth, a human child looked up from a broken rooftop and asked his mother, "Is it the end of the world?" She hugged him tightly. "No," she said. "It's the beginning of something else." Inside the command room of the United Earth Defense Base, General Cole stood still. Dozens of screens lit the space around him. Every country, every hidden base, every skyport had gone live. "Are you seeing this?" An officer whispered. On one screen, 1,000 ships were moving through space. Not human, not council, but something in between. Hybrids, rebels, refugees, survivors, all heading toward Earth. The signal Nara sent had reached them, and they were coming, not to invade, to stand beside her. Nara stood inside her ship, watching the data pour in. Her skin shimmered with soft energy. The child inside her was calm now, almost as if it too was waiting. "You brought them here," Jake said. "No," she replied. "The council did." He looked at her, confused. "They ruled for so long," Nara said. "They forgot they were feared. They forgot fear doesn't last forever." She turned toward Earth. "But hope survives." In deep orbit, the council's main fleet arrived. Hundreds of warships, planet killers, armadas that had wiped out civilizations in days. They formed a wall around Earth, ready to burn the blue planet into ash. Inside the lead ship, Lady Crean stood in front of the war table. "This is the last message," she said to her fleet. "The girl dies. The planet dies. And anyone who stands with them dies too." She raised her hand. "Fire." But the guns didn't fire. Not right away. Something jammed, something interrupted. On every ship, screens flickered, showing an ancient symbol, the Orion spiral, and a message, not from Nara, from the child inside her. "We are not your mistake. We are your mirror. What you see now is your ending." Suddenly, light split the stars. Nara's ship moved first, faster than anything the council had ever tracked. She wasn't flying it. The ship responded to her mind, her energy, her blood. Dozens of rebel ships joined behind her. Old enemies, united by something stronger than power. Purpose. They struck the council wall like thunder wrapped in flame. Earth's defense satellites opened fire. Lasers, kinetic cannons, solar beams. The sky became a battlefield of fire and sound, but it wasn't chaos. It was a storm with direction. On the ground, humanity rose. Civilians didn't run. They carried supplies to fighters. Medics volunteered before being called. Even children held signs that said, "We believe in her." Humanity had never seen an alien war up close, but they didn't hide from it. They faced it, and above them Nara carried that strength like armor. Inside the council ship, fear began to spread. Lord Mern, once silent, now walked through the war, room untouched. Guards didn't stop him, they listened. "It's over," he said calmly. "We ruled with fear, but she leads with hope. She doesn't need an army. She is the army." Lady Crean tried to stop him, but before she could give the final order, Nara appeared on their ship, not with weapons, with light. She walked through the walls like they were smoke. Jake stood behind her, holding a device built from the Orion cube. The energy around them was not violence, it was truth. "You offered me as a joke," she said, her voice soft but strong. "But I came back carrying your future." She placed her hand on the table. A hologram spread across the council chamber, a map of the galaxy. Every planet where life had once died now glowed. "The Orion never left," she said. They waited for this moment, for this child. The room fell silent. Then the child, still unborn, spoke through her, its voice ancient and kind. "Your time is over. Let go or be forgotten." And the council, for the first time in 1,000 years, bowed. 1 week later, Earth held its first galaxy-wide peace summit. Alien leaders came not as rulers, but as guests. Nara stood at the center of it all. Not a rebel, not a prisoner. Symboled on a living bridge between the past and what comes next. Her child, and still growing, had already changed everything. And as she looked out over the new galaxy, she said only one sentence: "Never laugh at what you don't understand." And far, far away in a corner of the galaxy untouched by war or pride, something stirred. The Orion were returning, not to rule, to learn, because humanity had done something no one else ever had. It rose.